Hello, welcome everybody. I am being joined by a world-class fertility expert this afternoon, Dr. Hector Izquierdo from IVF Life Group. And they are based in Spain. He is based in Spain. And we're going to be talking about getting pregnant in your 30s and your 40s, everything you need to know. So have your questions ready. We just had some good ones come in. Hello, good afternoon, welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, and very, very sorry for being this late. The issues of being a doctor, sometimes the theater is crazy. I am very, very sorry. I
No
apologize for being
worries.
late.
No problem. We appreciate you giving up your time, so thank you. Before we talk about this very important topic today, which we've already had a lot of questions around, please could you introduce yourself and the IVF Life Group?
So I'm the Dr. Hector Izquierdo. I'm one of the doctors in the IVF Life Group. I am in Alicante, the main quarters of our clinic and our group. And I'm a gynecologist. I studied my medicine in Germany, and then I went for my residencies, my fellowship in Germany as well. And then I decided to move to Alicante and to Spain because here we have a wider spectrum and possibilities. What can we offer the patients? The German system is rather restrictive and a bit more complicated to deal with. And that's why I moved here.
Mm-hmm. And Spain is a very popular destination for fertility treatment, isn't it?
It is. It is. We have a lot of experience here. We need to understand that Spain does fertility a long time ago, and the law is a bit more open than in other countries, which allow us to have a broad spectrum and possibilities for our patients.
Mm-hmm. So we have people joining from all over the world today. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. We would love to know more around getting pregnant in your later 30s and 40s. So I've got some questions to ask you, and if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to ask, and we will get to them as and when we can. So the first thing I wanted to find out is the term, and I hate this term, but I know it's a medical term, geriatric pregnancy. What age does that cover?
First of all, this is an English British term. This does not exist in Spain or Germany. And it's from my point of view, very offensive. When we say geriatric pregnancy, with that we want to say that it's a patient that's undergoing a higher obstetric risk than a patient in another age. It has nothing to do with the way she got pregnant, but with the age herself. It has nothing to do with how, when, or what she did to get pregnant, but with the age herself. And we say women above 40 are already in geriatric pregnancies. Why they decided to put this term is not very clear, but the reasons are with the age, there are some factors that change in the womb itself that make her more likely to have diseases or complications in the pregnancy. Like the ratio of C-sections is higher, the risk of preeclampsia is higher, the risk of early delivery or taking more time to deliver, it's higher. Blood sugar, blood pressure, there are many issues that could come with the age that are higher in those patients than in other before, and that's why we declare this risk factor to be taken care while we're surveillance our patients that are pregnant.
So during a geriatric pregnancy, there would be more monitoring as well, wouldn't there, because of these factors?
Yes, which is at the end a bit funny because in other countries, when you're above 40, there is going to be a more restricted follow-up from side of the doctor and the gynecologist. And in the UK, it's not exactly like that. So you're still with your midwife and your nurses. It's just a bit closer up. It doesn't mean that you're getting more ultrasounds. I think the term is there, but the way it's used in the NHS is a bit different as well in terms of consequences take out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. And what are the risks associated? You just mentioned some of the pregnancy risks, but what are the risks associated with getting pregnant during that phase? So in terms of embryo transfer, stimulation, IVF?
And once again, we're speaking to Brian. The thing is, depends on what you've done to go there. So the risk of a patient undergoing an IVF treatment to obtain the eggs and then getting a transfer is not the same one as the one of a patient getting egg donation and taking just getting transfer an embryo. The risk you need to divide into things, those associated to the procedure itself of taking the eggs, like infections and bleedings and things like that, and those associated to the transfer itself, which are none. You get pregnant naturally or not naturally, there's no extra risk in the pregnancy itself. What we do know is that IVF treatments are more associated to risk in the pregnancy. And this statistic is something I always want to say very careful, because the collective of patients getting pregnant with IVF is also older than the collective of pregnant women getting pregnant naturally. That's why you cannot compare the two populations. In any other situation, you won't compare a woman with 40 with a woman with 30 because they're different. But when you compare IVF, you're just taking into account that there are different populations there, and it's not. It's the proportion of women under 30 or 30 around getting pregnant with IVF is much lower than those getting pregnant naturally. And there's two groups of people that shouldn't be compared because they're not equal. They're very different.
Okay. That's good to know. In terms of the difficulty to get pregnant as you get later into your 30s and 40s, what happens? I know it's mainly down to egg reserve, egg quality, but well, first of all, why? And second of all, is there a really steep decline over a certain age?
There is a very pretty study that the Spanish Society of Fertility launches every time a year. Spain is very accurate with statistics and fertility. All clinics working in fertility must provide all data. They are always open. Every person in Spain can know which success rates every clinic has in Spain directly. We know with nothing covered. And while due to this statistic, you always compare women getting pregnant with IVF, age-related, and women getting pregnant with egg donation, age-related. And if you compare the curve of getting pregnant with egg donation, then the age is no longer a factor until you're 47.
Okay.
So being 30 to 47 is for egg donation the same.
Okay.
Because the egg work presents a huge factor in this process.
And these
going to why, because you were asking, why is it that? The thing is, we need to understand that those eggs that you're producing now were already produced when you're in the mom, in the womb.
You're born,
and they've been there this whole time. So there are many factors on those cells that are, at the moment you take the egg retrieval, 30, 35, 40, have been changing and deteriorating. That's why it's not the same, although they are genetically healthy, because you can test them. But a PGTA tested embryo from 40 is not the same as a PGTA embryo tested with 30. Those metabolic factors of the egg, you cannot change. Or not yet. With mitochondrial plantation and all of these, we might get there. But at this point, eggs have the capacity metabolic that they have, and we cannot change that, regardless what the DNA says.
So obviously you just touched on egg donation, and that meaning that success rates are higher for women who are, say, in their late 30s or 40s for sure. Is it just the eggs? So for example, would you see any differences with the uterine lining, the womb as you get older, or does that stay the same?
Of course. So first of all, sorry that I correct, just eggs. Eggs is the most wonderful thing you'll have. The egg is not just the carrier of the genetic, which the sperms is, they just carry genetics. The egg carries the whole fabric to turn this message into a human being. This is an amazing effort that the egg does. And this is why, also the reason why the eggs are the biggest cells we have in our bodies. They need to have so many things to be capable of doing so, that they're way far from simple. And all what they happen to that, you cannot change. Depending on other factors, of course, with the age, the circulation system, the small arteries, the small vessels, they are not as effective as before. That's why women do need more medication to get to a good lining the older they are. Pathologies like polyps, fibroids, and things like that, they come more with the age. that are more likely to be found in patients above 40 than in patients under 30. Other autoimmune diseases are also more present in older women than in younger women. That's why all of these factors affect as well. What is curious and very encouraging of this graphic is that says, regardless these other factors, the pregnancy rates are still very high in ectonation, because this mighty being, this wonder that the nature creates to give us the possibility of developing into humans, it's so potent that I always say it this way. It's a bit, it might sound a bit arrogant, but best quality egg can overcome a lot.
Okay. Okay. And for people to have a healthy pregnancy, it's not just about getting pregnant, is it? Obviously, that's a brilliant start, but you want to go to term and have a healthy baby. That's the goal, obviously. So what considerations should people think about when they might be trying to have a baby in this age bracket?
First of all, try to take time on first thinking which are your priorities. And before you go to the fertility day you're going to go, set your priorities on. Because if you share them with the patients before, they'll know what you want and they can help you better. There are some patients that for many reasons do not consider egg donation or embryo donation, sperm donation, call it religion, culture, family, society, many things. Then in these particular patients, you pay them no benefit if you keep on saying you're too old, this doesn't work, this is not going to work, you need to change plans. Because if the other plan is not possible for her, why to mention that the whole time? She knows already it exists, she does not want it, and she cannot go it for very different reasons. Then pulling the cord the whole time just to say do this that you don't want to do doesn't bring you any further. So first of all, focus on what you want to do and what you don't want to do. After that, set yourself limits. It's not about trying and trying and trying. Once you're on the process, you can lose perspective. You start realizing where you started, what you wanted, and where you're going. So it's very useful just to go to the first consultation and say, okay, we've spoken about this as a family, and our limit is this. This is what we're going to do, maximum, and either we get it there, or we change plans, or we don't move forward and look for other options, which are many, just not infertility. I always say, to have babies are many, many, many options. So you can have babies through surrogacy, through adoption, and many, many different concepts of family at this moment, or nowadays there are. From that point of view, you first of all need to see what you want, how you feel realized, and then go for the direction.
And actually, for anyone who is considering donor conception, I'm always happy to talk to you about it, because I have sperm donor conceived children, and my husband's infertile, and so you know, it's always useful to hear from someone who's gone down that path that you might be considering, who can answer questions or anxieties that you may have along the road, or even when you're setting out on the journey. It's really good to speak to people who are doing it or who have done it.
And this is, and I'm very open also about my history, because I'm also an IVF patient. I'm married to a guy, and where some people see a problem, I see an opportunity. From our point of view, me not having ovaries, my husband also not having ovaries, and either for us having a womb, all what comes on top is an extra. Egg donation, surrogacy, adoption, it's all different options that are come on top of that, because I'm not granted any of this benefits from the very beginning. That's why it's about your own perspective of your own journey, and no one should tell you what's good for you. You should be the one deciding. Speaking about more medical features in the situation, it's also very important to know that independent from ectosurf, age always plays a role. So having a lot of eggs doesn't mean that you need to do it and do it and do it over again. If you have a cycle with good number of eggs or two, and none of them get a blaster, or they get two blasters and they're genetically not correct, this show a tendency. So the same way, a woman with low ovarian reserve does not go forward because the eggs are not going being produced or not from a blasters. Women with 15, 13 eggs at 43, which is fantastic. If she does not get to any blasters or to genetically healthy embryos, that is the same thing. Just that the number of eggs is provided doesn't mean that you're getting pregnant or you have a live birth, but at the end is what we need. Many of us, we just speak about pregnancy rates. And when patients come to me, you speak about live birth rates because everything what's before, we don't care for. Getting pregnant is not pretty if you don't have a baby at home. So this is what we need to focus on. And I will always confront my doctor and ask him, okay, let's speak about facts. I don't care for science. I want a baby at home. Which are the opportunities to have in that, or this life to have a baby at home? This is what I want to know. And this is how we make decisions.
Okay, yeah, I agree. And if anyone has got any questions for Dr. Hector, please do ask away. The next part I wanted to ask you about, which we did have some questions on before you joined, was around preparing your body. So you probably get this a lot, but health, diet, obviously being in Spain, that's the most amazing thing for people coming over to see you to have a Mediterranean diet and some vitamin D. But
if you like it.
Yeah. Any other suggestions?
I am the biggest fan of self-awareness. I think you're going to be bombed with too much information. People telling you, do this, do that, this is the best, this is the other best. And most of my patients do not take the time to discover themselves. And you need, as a grown-up woman, not just for fertility, know yourself. You need to get in touch to your needs, what's good for you, what's not good for you. And following the diet, I think as a grown-up woman, my patients know already what suits them, what not suits them. So we always say fruits and vegetables, but this is just like for everyone, but it's not always the same. For example, I cannot eat peppers. Peppers make me sick, and tomatoes are not very good for me as well. They make me very upset. If my stomach is upset, if my bowel is upset, my whole body is in some sort of upset, and this is not helping me to get pregnant. So it's not about cooking recipes, take that, take this. I demand from them to have stop in the process and get to know themselves. What do I eat that makes me feel more easy or relaxed, have better digestion? What do I do to come down to earth and feel more comfortable? Because sometimes people say, do yoga, do acupuncture, do Pilates. And there are other things that might be more helpful. For example, although I am very open for all traditional Chinese therapies and other things, the only thing that pisses me out is taking my dogs and going for a walk. This is what takes me down, relax me, and lets me connect with myself. Taking my 3 boys on the line and go walk an hour until I'm tired and they're tired. So more than following advice is what to do or what not to do in terms of things. Vitamins are good. There are some minerals, adaptogens that are also good. You can adjust the diet on that. But get to know yourself. Get to know what you need and find a peaceful place on your mind with activities that can bring you that peace that you might need and process your struggling. Because this is not a garden with flowers. This is very hard what we're going through. That's why we always need to go back to it.
And some advice I heard, which I really liked, was, you know, if you're doing things in moderation, great. But if it's going to stress you out, if having 1 glass of wine is going to make you feel stressed, that you've done something negative, and the enjoyment of having that glass of wine is going to be taken away by the stress of having had the glass of wine, then don't do it. But if it's going to make you feel better, then, you know, it sort of depends on the person in terms of what relaxes you or what keeps you sane, really, doesn't it? In terms of moderation.
It is about it. It is about finding the way to make peace with yourself, because there's so many other stress factors going around you that you shouldn't be the one punishing yourself on all this process. I find it very interesting. I said that to one of my patients today. Women always get the way to make themselves responsible for things happening around them. And infertility treatments even more. And then if these things you might have from someone else are gonna make you feel guilty because you're not making it, you're gonna think this is the reason why you're failing at something, please let it be.
Yeah.
Mute them, don't talk to them, do something different, because you have enough things to deal with just to take care of someone else thinking you should do that or this.
We just had a question regarding improving success rates age 41 with frozen embryos of a PGT normal embryo. Is there anything that people can be doing around that age bracket when you've had embryos created to optimize the chance of it working?
Always. The thing is, once you have an embryo who's genetically healthy with 41, this is a diamond and you just don't throw it away. So preparation is the key. Do not get mad if your doctor tells you, I'm not transparent, the lining is too thin. I'm not transparent, the lining is too thick. The embryo, once you've given it back, there's no way back to get it. So focus on preparing the line the best possible. Don't mind doing 1 or 2 mock cycles to find the perfect lining, because it's better to do that than to lose an embryo that costs you a huge effort to get that.
Yeah.
Be less conservative in some techniques. So do some testing if you want to do so, like implantation window testing, immunological assets. There are some people saying, okay, this is just for patients with repeated implantation failure. Wait a second, she's 41, she's got a healthy upload embryo. How many of those is she going to have? Do I want to spend it and then test it? It makes no sense. If I have 10 of them, okay, let's try with one and see if I turn it into a repeated implantation failure after failing 3 times. But at a certain point, with euclid embryos in certain age, we don't have any to lose. So on those perspectives and with those patients, I focus to check everything before we make a step forward. Because those embryos are not easy to get back.
Yeah, I think that's sound advice. Thank you so much. Can people use their own eggs after 40?
Yes, they do. And they get pregnant and have children.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it going to be you? That's the other thing.
So when would you advise people to move on to egg donation? Would it be after several tries using your own eggs, or would it be if you think that people aren't going to respond well to protocol?
I'm going to reveal your secret. My secret I always reveal to all my patients. IVF treatments are not just to get pregnant. IVF treatments are to learn from them. Every single step of an IVF treatment, if you're monitoring the embryo day and minute after minute, tells you information of what is failing. So more than just doing IVF to have an embryo that I can transfer, what I need to is to pay attention to all the information the embryo is giving me so I can make decisions. If I have a cycle of IVF and I have 10 eggs, and out of those 10 eggs, although I did double trigger, calcium ionophorus, and many other things, just 2 fertilize because they do not activate. This is a clear egg quality factor. Then, although you have got an embryo, you must think that this is something here that is not working perfectly. Or if you have an egg retrieval, you fertilize the eggs, everything is fantastic, and after day 3, it goes down. This is a sign of sperm factor, and having a normal spermiogram doesn't mean that everything is fine. So it is about learning about what the eggs tells you. They speak to us, and we need to hear them. And whilst you hear them, you learn how to improve things and make them differently.
Fascinating. So clever.
And I'm sorry what I'm going to say, but not trying is for me not an option. I cannot say if something's not going to work if I haven't tried before. So for me, it's very important. Have I had a real attempt? I have 3 IUIs. I know nothing about that. I suppose the egg was produced, it was released, yes or no, it was fertilized, yes or no. So an IVF treatment, at least one, tells you what's happening there.
Yeah.
If you have ovaries and hormones, if the hormones are not working and you have no ovaries or no eggs at all, then you don't have to try it, that's clear. But if there's something there, you might as well be interested in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love the fact that you leave no stone unturned. If anyone would like to book a consult with Dr. Izquierdo or the rest of the team, then I'm going to link up their website in our bio so that you can reach out and speak to them for a free consult. Someone just asked a question which leads me on to my next sort of things to ask you, please, if you have time, which is around the upper age limit for using your own eggs. Someone has just mentioned that they're 47. Would it be too late to consider IVF? She's a Turner syndrome patient.
Well, that's even more complicated.
Okay.
When we're producing eggs and we're going to do an IVF treatment, we have statistics that say that after 40, the possibility of producing a genetically healthy embryo reduces. The chances of producing a genetically healthy embryo after 45 are very low. On top of that, I always say it this way, making a copy of a book just works properly if the original book is intact. A patient with a Turner syndrome already has some affections in their genetics, making them more likely to produce embryos that are not going to be genetically healthy. Okay. Therefore, their chances to have a genetically healthy embryo are even lower in younger women than in older women, even higher. That's why I don't like cooking recipes. I don't think a number tells us everything. I always like to see the case of the patient itself. How's your growth? How are the follicles? And make an attempt and learn out of it. Let's say the cycle shows this is not the way, that we change always, but not trying it. Let's say you're about to say we don't try it. There is a legal restriction in Spain, and I say legal because it's not a law, it's a recommendation from the Spanish Society of Fertility. They recommend to undergo any fertility treatments after 50.
Yes.
It is up to the doctor to decide, but they recommend this type of treatments. And in that terms, IVF treatments after 50, no go.
And so for the person who just asked that, I would recommend booking a consult with Dr. Hector. Would you say that having IVF is worth it at 45, for example?
I have patients who have got pregnant at 45 and have babies at home. And then if I wouldn't have allowed them to try it, then those babies wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So I think...
And is it safe at 45, 50? Is that okay?
If it's genetically tested, it's the same as egg donation, and we do egg donation up to 50. There's something I always say, I'm very amused of every day of my practice, how much I discover how tiny I am as a person, or how small I am, because even in the best condition, the best situation, I cannot help all of my patients. And to stay humble is something I really feel very important in my practice. I'm not God, Yoba, Jesus, however you want to call it, to tell you if you're going to succeed, yes or no. My role is not to tell you what to do. My role as a doctor is to provide you the information about what can we do so you can make an accurate, decided decision. I'm not the one telling you what is going to happen for you to get pregnant. This is a principle behind the doctor sits, white coat, you do this, go home. I think people my age, and that's something I see on my team a lot, we always try to find the best solution for that patient that's sitting in front of me, hearing them what they want. And I always say my patients, if you're wanting me to make a decision for you, you lost your time. I'm going to start repeating the same things over and over again in many different ways until you get the information you need to make your own decision. Because you're doing this to be a family, to become parents, then welcome to parenting. You need to decide for someone else. Welcome. Take decision.
Well, that's why having you here today, having these conversations is so good for people to be able to have a forum to discuss these things, get educated on things, have questions answered, empower themselves, and ultimately, speak to you for a personal consult so that you can find out what their situation is, look at their medical history and tell them, what the chances might be and what the options might be. Are you going to be, I know that the IVF Life Group are going to be at the Fertility Show this coming weekend. Yes. We will be there. Are you coming over too?
Yes, any patients here that want to speak to us, please feel free to go to the fertility show. We'll be there the whole 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, and happy to see you. My colleague Manuel Izquierdo and I are going to be there. We have stand, we have some free consultation already arranged, but there's always place for some questions or all of assistants. We're going to have Paula, we're going to have Elise, and we're going to have Olga. There are 3 very experienced assistants who can give you first information about how is everything going, and we have some surprises there as well for the patients that visit.
Amazing, amazing. So I would say for the people who have just asked quite a few questions about your own personal situation, please do come along to the fertility show. You can get 20% off tickets with code FHH and book in to see the specialists, the doctors at IVF Life Group, who will be there with their stand and surprises, as we just mentioned. So it's definitely worth coming along, and meeting someone face to face is invaluable. So we can't wait to meet you there too.
I can't wait to see you. I'm very happy to be there. It's a freedom feeling we have now that we're capable of flying again, being there, moving, in touch with other people. It endly feels like it's like we're moving forward.
It does.
It's very
It
hard.
does.
2 years.
It does. It really does. It really does.
Thrilled to be there. Very happy. Looking forward to meet some of you there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time
You're
today.
very welcome. And apologies again for being late. This is not like
no problem at all. We got there. It's been brilliant. Thank you for your time.
goodbye.
Thanks everyone for joining. Bye-bye. Bye.